Hey all, I have not been live for like 2 years, so I am incredibly nervous. Ooh, it is so weird to be back in the liveness of Facebook. I I tried doing a live earlier and could not quite get the hang of all of the new things that you have to do it, and so I gave up. But now I'm here. And I'm here to talk about my communication issues because even though I'm a relationship coach, I still struggle some days. Friends, family. Okay. Current frame rate is too low. Oh, learn more. How do I do that? How do I make my frame rate better? Don't know. Settings? Stream viewer live tab. Live tab. Stream. No. Not sure how I can change that, so I'm not going to try because I'm afraid of screwing something up. So I'm going to go back to the live dashboard. Action needed. It's still telling me. Oh no. I hope you can see me. Interactivity, maybe it's under there. Dashboard, I don't know. Can't really help you, Facebook, because I am unsure of how to change any of my settings. So we're just gonna go with it. Hopefully people can see me. Thanks. Thanks, Andy. Oh, hi, Jen. Thanks for showing up. So, okay, communication issues. Ironically, next month, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be teaching, facilitating, and workshopping communication with people every Saturday for 90 minutes. It is in our PolyLab, so if you're interested, let me know. You can reach out to me via DM. So that's part of what I do as a coach is these group coaching labs where we work on certain issues, and one of them is communication. So I'm going to share with everybody pretty vulnerably my communication issues and those of the past as well as ones that I'm currently struggling with. So one that comes up for me pretty much almost all the time is the deep uncomfortability I have with hard conversations. Anybody who's been through any kind of really challenging conversations with people who are not good at communication probably relates to this. We don't like it. We don't want to re-experience it. Our body is trying to protect us from it. Our mind is giving us 1,000 reasons to avoid having the conversation. And so we like to avoid. And I cannot tell you how often that happens to me. Pretty much all the time. So when I get into a difficult conversation that I know will be difficult for me or for the person I'm speaking to, I kind of gear up to it. That's a good thing and a bad thing. One thing that can happen for me when I'm preparing is that I get over prepared and I feel kind of like, oh, this is going to be overwhelming. I'm scared. And it can activate me even before we start talking. So that poor soul that I'm sitting across from doesn't even realize that I am already in my feelings and not in my rational mind, and probably not a great listener at that point and all those things. And so they are like, oh yeah, sure, let's talk about what it is you want to talk about. And I am getting ready to fall into my default behaviors, things like getting defensive or shutting down emotionally. So when I shut down emotionally, that can kind of feel like dissociation. And if you've ever experienced that, it feels kind of like you're not really in your body, or you have a flat feeling. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, I am not going to feel anything here. And that's a protective mechanism, right? Like we want that to show up for us when we need it, but sometimes we default to it, and that can prevent connection. So because I know that about myself, I really try to stay grounded coming into a conversation that's going to be difficult. Whether I'm instigating, see, listen to my language. Even that is like confrontational, right? Whether I'm initiating or the other person is initiating, I really try to stay in my body and listen to my body and do some breathing while we're talking or some tapping. Tapping is great. Tap your shoulders, tap your legs. Bilateral stimulation. There's a tip for everybody. It moves your brain activity from the amygdala, the fight flight center, to your reasoning mind. So that's very helpful. Anyway, that's one of the things that happens to me is that I shut down emotionally. I disconnect, sort of unplug, like I am not going to be affected by whatever they say or do because of this difficult conversation. And so that's something that I struggle against, right? And then also as a people pleaser in recovery, I have in the past been very concerned, hyper concerned about their emotional response rather than focused on being clear and slow and intentional and mindful. So I get very focused on, are we okay? Is this okay? Am I okay? I might even apologize. I might feel that I'm inappropriate for advocating for my needs. I might even disregard or kind of downplay what I'm talking about, even though it could be quite serious to me. So those are things that I've worked really hard in the last 10 years to kind of dial down and just be able to advocate without fixating on how is this landing. Now that doesn't mean I don't care about the other person or I don't care how it's landing with them. I do, but I have changed how that impacts me and what it does to me. So that's nice. So it's been a lot of work. And then sometimes, I have a ton of tools, communication tools, and I just forget all about them. And that can be for a number of reasons. Maybe I'm overtired. Maybe I didn't eat well. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe what happened right before this conversation was overwhelming me. And as somebody with, multiple brain injuries now, I have to take that into consideration too. What is my status? Is this a good time for me to even bring this up? Maybe it's not, you know? And a couple of other things that I have noticed about myself is that I make assumptions about what the other person is thinking and feeling. Kind of like that hypervigilance, right? And maybe you guys do that too. I don't know. Give me a heart or a thumbs up in the comments if you feel like that's something you do. But when I'm really focused on creating the story around what's going on with them, I often forget what's going on with me, or I don't pay as much attention to what's going on with me. So that's been super challenging to kind of get past. I want to make sure that, I am staying present with myself as much as I am with them. And then the other thing that can happen is I get distracted by my emotional reactions or theirs. And I stop communicating clearly. That can be kind of like muddled sentences, repeating the same thing, wanting to bring in sort of adjacent issues that are not the issue. I get lost in my train of thought. So these are all challenges that a lot of people have, I think. And interrupting is another one that my non-diagnosed ADHD is probably partly to do with, because, and also my memory issues, because when I am thinking of, hey, I understand you in this moment and I want to express that, or hey, I have a point that I want to make, or make sure that you understand, I'll forget. If I don't say it right now, I'll forget. And so there's this urgency to speak, and I have a terrible, terrible habit of interrupting or talking over someone. And again, I have to really practice not doing that. I can lose patience with them and their desire perhaps to even continue the discussion. That can be part of my attachment style, or an attachment style, which I've identified for myself as being fearful avoidant, which is both, hey, I'm anxious about this and I want to avoid it. So that's fun. And when you're partnered with another fearful avoidant, it's really fun, because your anxiety about it triggers their avoidance and vice versa, and all that good stuff happens. So I hope that this is relatable to people. I don't want you to think that, as somebody who does this group coaching about communication, that I am some sort of expert. I am not, but I am learning and being reminded alongside of all of the participants. And I have all of the notes with me, and I have all of the tools, and I have all of the worksheets and reminders and journal prompts that we can go through in the PolyLab. So, I mean, that's sort of part of the process for me too. It's an added benefit. It's like a, everybody in that same group, including me and including Greg, are being reminded about the tools and what we can do to communicate better. I'm still getting that warning that it says frames per second is too low. So I hope that's not the case. And something I wanted to talk about too is, a lot of people use the word stonewalling, which is when people withdraw or shut down. And I just want to address maybe, hey, that is a psychological term, used when we're talking about people trying to manipulate a situation by not responding. And it can be a negative, but it can also be that person's need to process. We don't always process at the same speed. And so, hey, if you need that time, ask for it. Don't ask for it, take it. But also remember that that person that you're speaking to is probably anxious about what's going on with you. They're probably over there making up a story about what you're thinking and feeling, and it might all be wrong, or you might not even know how you feel. And it's okay not to know. And it's okay to need some time to figure it out. And it's okay to say to your other person, hey, I need to take a few minutes or half a day, and let's revisit this when I've had some time to journal and think about it and reflect, so that I know how I'm feeling. Because right now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and I'm unsure of what I need or what I want to say. That can be really helpful. So there's a few tips for you on communication, and I hope that it's helpful. So my time is coming up. It says 14 minutes, and I wanted to keep this under 15 so that it's watchable for most people and feels good, and it doesn't feel too much information. And if you relate to any of this, shoot me a comment, shoot me a message. I'm going to post this on my regular Facebook page, and also probably somewhere else. Instagram, maybe. Not sure. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to do. I'm not really sure how this all works. I feel like I was kind of a hack when I did it a couple of years ago, and I still am. I'm still figuring it out. So thanks for being here, and thanks for tuning in, whoever is watching this in the replay. And let me know if you have any questions about the PolyLab. It starts on October 5th. And, oh, Great question. What's the difference between stopping a response and a freeze response? Intention. So you're intending to stop a response because you feel overwhelmed and you're like, okay, I need time, right? I need to kind of remove myself from the situation. A freeze response is it's automatic. You don't have control over it. You don't have the ability to respond. There's just nothing there. And I think even in a freeze response, you might have difficulty expressing that, right? Might be like, I can't speak. You might go nonverbal. Many people do in a freeze. Or, it might be a freeze that turns into a fawn, which is like anything you want. What do you want? What do you need? Rather than staying centered in what you need and want. So, yeah, that's the difference for me anyway. And I think that's sort of a clinical difference as well. But again, I am a coach. I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or anyone who's a medical professional in this. But I will caveat all of that by saying I do have a lot of experience working with people on these things, and that consensus seems to be pretty shared across the board. I even work with people who are therapists themselves, which is great. Love coaching therapists, and they're such good clients. So thanks. I'm going to wrap it up now because we're at 16, almost 17 minutes. Oh my gosh. I know the first minute was kind of me staring at the screen going, what's going on? I don't know how to do this. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the question. Thanks so much, Andy. And thanks for showing up. Bye.